Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight for tonight, February 23rd, 2021. I'm your host, Tristan, the host of YouTube channels Step Back History, and Tristan Won't Shut Up. I stream thrice a week. Well, you are watching, all this is going to be Eastern time, by the way. I stream on Monday afternoons with Mia Mulder on a show called The Monday Discourse. On Tuesdays from 7 to 9, I do a show called Step Back Tonight, the one you're watching right now. And from 12 till 2 on Fridays, I do the Reactor, where people send me content to react to. I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. If you want to support Step Back, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory. Or if you want to, you can check out Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, you can use your free Twitch Prime subscription to give Step Back a little boost. Please use it no matter what, because if you don't use it, Amazon gets to keep your money. So use it on some Twitch creator, but you know, if you choose me, I'll be very grateful for it, obviously. As for stuff that's going on in my channel right now, I spent all day fighting my executive function to work on a script, and I got probably about maybe half of it done. So I'm working on a script about the FBI and the founding of COINTELPRO, which is basically the American secret police. So that's fun. I'm in the process of writing that right now. As for Tristan Won't Shut Up, I've got a video written that I need to film. I don't know when that's going to happen, though, because I just today got February's positive leftist news, so that'll be taking up a lot of my time in the next 2 or 3 days. So, yeah. Lastly, if you want to help contribute to the stream's content, I have a link here. This is a place where you can submit questions for future streams. I've added a bunch today, but we'll see where things go. And lastly, if this is your first time watching a Step Back stream, first of all, welcome. Second, we have an active chat, and I would really recommend you say hello because it's a great community, and I would love to see more people join in. So yeah, please do. America has like 3 or 4 different organizations that could be RGB secret police. Yeah, fair. We got somebody sent a picture of a spooky face. Okay. Thanks for the spooky face. And yeah, other things I want to mention is that I've got this. This came in the mail today, finally. I bought this t-shirt. Fucking sweet IWW t-shirt. That's good. That's good industrial workers of the world right here. And also, let's see if I can get her to... Got a Foobster. Hey, Foobs. Hey, girl. She's been... Romeo's been harassing her lately, so she's been hiding and being very clingy. But it's fine because I love her. Hey? So, although today, she put that to the test and took a big old whiz on one of the blankets in my office. So that was fun. I've had like quite a day in a bit. So last night, freaking flossing my teeth, I chipped one of my fucking fillings. So now I'm in like a constant dull throbbing pain until Thursday when I can get my fillings fixed, which involved calling around because it's kind of hard to get, a really quick filling at the same time during a pandemic and everything. And then there's, whatchamacallit. Then our refrigerator turned off for some reason, and we couldn't figure out how to make it work again until we figured out the ever perfect work of just unplug and plug it back in, like you do, and that worked. It just happened. And on top of that, Phoebes just took a huge whiz on one like right in front of me, like not even hiding it, and so that was fun to get her to. So yeah, it's just been a day. It's been a fucking day. Whew. And what's been going on the internet? I noticed that Prince Philip's still not dead, which is kind of disappointing. I was hoping he'd be dead by now, but apparently he's got a kidney infection, which, like, okay. Wash with a cup of white vinegar to kill the smell from the cats. That would be a good idea. It's you who... We found another way your 102-year-old house is badly designed. No, I don't think so. I should use vinegar. We used, like, Lysol wipes and Febreze and essential oils, but vinegar could work too. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the behaviors that Phoebe's been doing since we moved have kind of implied that she's really stressed out by Romeo bugging her and the kind of territory wars they've been having over the house. So I'm hoping that will work itself out eventually, But in the meantime, Phoebes is seeming like she's very grumpy or stressed out. Was what she peed on new? No, it was a old blanket. I think it was from my wife's school. She went for grad school. So it's been around for a while. Awesome flag, awesome shirt, awesome photo in the background. Yeah, now nobody could ever mistake me for being anything but an anarchist, right? Like, anarchist flag, IWW t-shirt, and a picture of Emma Goldman's, freaking, what's it called? Thing. What do you think Romeo will be like with a dog? Depends on the size of the dog, really, and the dog's temperament. Let's see. Tiger Woods. Yeah, Tiger Woods got in a car crash. I heard that. Your cats aren't cool since moving house. Yeah, that's basically the main issue. But it's been, like, we moved on the 31st, so we've lived here for 23 days. So it's been over 3 weeks. And usually, like these cats have moved several times in the past, and it usually takes them, you know, about a month and change to work out their feelings. I'm hoping that that things will sort themselves out, because, like, they've been through this process before. And this is usually one of the things Phoebe does when she's upset. Is it worth joining the IWW at this point? Yeah. Yeah, always good. I can't use bleach because what wasn't put in a blanket, and the blanket just went straight into the laundry, is on wood floor, like hardwood floor, like 100-year-old hardwood floor. The main problem with what's going on with the cats is that they're very different types of cats. And it leads to a lot of problems because, like, Romeo, although it doesn't really matter that much for cats, Romeo is male and she's female. Phoebe also is very small. Like, Romeo is probably about, like, 10 pounds. Like, he's on the big side for a cat. He's not, like, overweight or anything. He's just, like, you know, he's the cat equivalent of someone who's, like, 6'3", while Phoebe's only like 5 pounds, so she's like she's small for like the normal range of a cat's weight. So she's much smaller than him. She's also declawed, and he's not. So she came that way. I didn't do it, by the way. So that combination of things leads to, and also she is 11 years old, and he's like maybe like 7. So. They're at different life stages too. So all that stuff can cause a lot of friction between them. Yeah. Rush Limbaugh did die. Good news. It's been a week now. Oh, man. Do you think global... I got the question thing. I will use. Okay. But yeah, Phoebe is... you know, the territory, like, Romeo's capacity, like, to overpower her is pretty high. And so she's very grumpy, and she, like, growls and hisses at him and, like, doesn't like him very much. Because he doesn't know what's going on. He's a dumbass. Romeo is not a bright cat. So yeah. Are you planning on doing a Rush Limbaugh retrospective video? It hadn't come to mind. Though it could be a thing I do. Thing is that, like, it feels more like that would be a Tristan Won't Shut Up video, and Tristan Won't Shut Up videos currently take a long time because of other projects that are all being piled on me at the time. And so, like, I'm just getting, like, I have a Tristan Won't Shut Up video that I'm going to be recording sometime this week, I hope, on fucking GameStop or GameStop. So, yeah. My turnaround time might not be good enough to get a good Rush Limbaugh video in while the iron's still hot. It's already been a week, so I don't know. Oh. Foopster. Yeah. Poor little girl. When she's scared, she gets very clingy to me, though. Hey, are you ever going to bring back the Dead Countries segment? Maybe. If I get a really good one. I did a couple Dead Countries that ended up being, like, really, really poorly received videos. Show Cat? Sure. She's, down here. Hello. Thing is, I did Dead Countries on the Zhou Dynasty and the Kingdom of Congo, and those two videos failed miserably. People didn't watch them because they weren't about white people, which is like the number one thing. If my video is about white people and straight people, then my videos do better. And when I did a video on a piece of Chinese history and a piece of African history, the videos tanked, and so I kind of interpreted that as people don't really like the series that much. So I put that series on ice because I really need to grow the channel so that I can get to, enough subscribers that I'm really trying to get to 100K subscribers. So I'm trying to focus a lot of stuff on, like, content that is going to encourage growth. Doesn't mean I won't come back to it. I still have plans to make one on the USSR and Nazi Germany. Those are both on my, like, sort of like slow burn videos to make someday. Like, for example, I basically have like my Patreon stretch goal videos, and my next one that I'm working on at the moment is on Operation what's it called? Operation Paperclip, which should be, it's got Nazis, it's got World War II. That feels like something that'll do all right. And it's going to have some pretty awesome collaborations. How often do you make a video that won't do well because it's important? It depends upon, because, like, I go through periods where I say, I think it's like, okay, so I go through periods where I make videos that are like, all right, I know what my audience wants. Like, I have a vague idea of what my audience will watch. So I go through periods where I'm like, I'm just going to make content that my audience wants and focus entirely on channel growth, making stuff that'll bring in big views over and over again. And then sometimes, like, especially when I've had a conversation with Matt's philosophy is always just make videos on whatever you want to talk about. Don't worry about the analytics. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. Just kind of keep making stuff, and, it'll work out. And every time I do that, I do videos about topics that are not about fascists or communists and not about white people, and the videos just go right into the shitter. And right now, Step Back is, like, doing very, very poorly because I've done now like 3 videos in a row on topics that people didn't want videos on. Like, I did a video on the Yakuza, I did a video on Martin Luther King, and I did a video on on Maroons, slave Maroons, and all 3 of those videos have been just utter failures because nobody wants to watch anything about non-white people. So I have to. I usually try to run things on a 2-to-1 ratio, but right now the series that's doing really well on Step Back is my series on the white power movement. And the white power movement video doesn't, like, the white power series didn't seem like it was appropriate to make videos on during Black History Month. So, yeah. So I'm going to be returning to that in March, but at the moment I'm just kind of working on this video. I'm working on this COINTELPRO video. Hopefully that'll maybe push off a new series, so we'll see where that goes. And usually what I try to do, I think what I'm trying to do right now is get myself to a position where I have a 2-to-1 ratio of candy to vegetables, i.e. I can have one video on a topic that I want to do that I know won't do well or I don't think will do well, and for every one of those videos I have to make 2 candy videos. So I have to make 2 videos about fascist, communist, white people, whatever, videos that I know will do well. And I was doing that up until February, until, the St. Andrew reached out to me and I wanted to get on board with that. And then I had, before that was Martin Luther King. I wanted to get Martin Luther King Day covered. And I had the surprise return of Boxu. So I had a sort of like bam, bam, bam of scheduling. But I hope that that'll get me to... what's it called? I hope that'll get me to 100K. I'm supposed to be getting to 100,000 subscribers sometime this summer. And if I can get myself to 100,000 subscribers, then I'm happy. I won't really care that much about, like, my Patreon and my AdSense is currently at the point where I'm making a slowly growing income that I can almost say is minimum wage given the hours I put into it. So, on that note, I can relax and just focus on making things that I want to make. But yeah. Black Outlaws of the West might sell. I really highly doubt it. Videos about black people don't do well, and I made a video on the Wild West that also did very poorly. So that probably won't work. I have high hopes for my COINTELPRO video. I feel like talking about why the FBI is bad and why the FBI suppresses the left, that might do well. And if it does do well, then I have probably 5 or 6 videos I can make on that topic. So I don't know if I'll do that alongside the White Power series or if I'll pick it up, or I'll pick it up after I'm done the White Power series or something like that. I don't know. And I have my next video that I have planned for an actual date is I plan on making a video on the Armenian genocide for April 24th. So that's also on the horizon that I got to keep in mind for. What are my politics? Well, let's just say it this way. I have a t-shirt for the anarchist union, the industrial workers of the world. I have a anarchist flag right there. I also have a framed picture of anarchist activist Emma Goldman when she was arrested in 1900 for being associated with the person who killed William McKinley. Lucy Parsons? Maybe. I have a feeling that the only, WOMs that I could make a video about that might do well is if I did, Rosa Luxemburg or something like that, you know? Something that, a name that's instantly recognizable. Because, yeah, people don't watch video about women's either. It's not even a small number. If I make a video about women or people of color, about 38% of my audience doesn't come out to watch it. And if 38% of your audience doesn't come out, everything else, in run-on effect, it goes down. And you get to a point where, you're, what's it called? Everything gets suppressed. Not all wobblies are anarchists. Okay, fair. But it definitely has a anarchist streak to it. Emma Goldman actually is one of the few videos I made about women that did well. It didn't do well when it first came out. The Emma Goldman video had to marinate for a while before it found its audience. And now it's like among my videos that I did solidly okay. It wasn't like a huge success, but it was a decent enough of a success. And I was very proud of that video. And Emma Goldman is a topic I really wanted to make a video about, so I'm okay with that. I'm also kind of trying to switch up my video making process a little bit. After the Maroons video, I feel like I was a little bit too disorganized in my thinking, so I'm sort of trying to make this mix of, like, you know, scripted and unscripted content where I can do more, like, jokes that are more off the cuff. I'm trying to kind of give it the structure of, like, a Jim Sterling video, where, like, they start the video with, like, a face-to-face introduction that kind of talks about, like, gets you into the topic, but also has a lot of jokes, and then goes into a section that's very obviously very heavily, like, written and scripted, and then sort of breaks back to the camera for occasional one-off jokes and transitions and stuff like that. So that's, like, my thought about, like, what I might do for, like, that's the structure of the next Tristan Won't Shut Up video and the next Step Back video. So I'm okay with that, or I'm hoping it'll work out all right, because I feel like now my editing skills have become kind of efficient enough that I can get away with it, and also that I have become a strong enough writer. We'll see. Whew. Sorry, I'm, like, talking a lot without, like, well, this is the point of my stream, isn't it? But I'm talking a lot about my channel, which is, I imagine, not the most interesting topic in the world to some people. You know? Unless you find this kind of, like, you know, unless you, like, find this kind of stuff, like, not interesting. I thought Jim transitioned off camera. Yeah, they did. I still think that their stage name is Jim Sterling. That's why I still refer to them as that. So... Do you know what Emma Goldman's thoughts were on the IWW? I don't. The IWW's peak days were a little bit I guess they were during her, maybe a little bit before her time. Because, like, Emma Goldman didn't really get into, like, activism and stuff like that until, like, you know, the 1890s. And I feel like the IWW was a little bit before that, but maybe not. It's definitely close. My guess is that she would have had a pretty good relationship with them. Yeah. By the way, I have 3 more of these, and when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a giveaway. She had the bad experience. She had a bad experience with the Bolsheviks. Yeah. She, what's it called? When she got arrested during the Palmer raid, she got deported to Russia because she moved from there when she was like 14 years old or whatever. And she landed like right in the middle of the the Russian Revolution, where she got very dismayed over how nobody gave any shits about like political freedom or freedom of speech or anything like that. And so she left to live in Germany, where she wrote My Disillusionment in Russia, which was sort of like a anarchist critique of the Soviet Union, which got her a lot of hate, and she wasn't really popular with the left after that. She's a silly woman who cared about trivial things like free speech. Well, that's literally how, like, Bolsheviks saw it. They saw, like, well, you can't... a line I often will use, because it is something to kind of keep in mind, like, you really can't eat free speech, and you can't clothe your children with civil rights or civil liberties or whatever. And so, like, there's a little bit of, like, yeah, if you're not covering the material, like, you could have all the freedoms in the world. If you don't have your material needs covered, they don't matter all that much, you know? People's, like, you know, freedom of expression, I feel like a person who's struggling to get food every day cares all that much about. You know? That was probably one of my favorite lines I've written for the Cold War. If anyone, I write for, there's a YouTube channel called The Cold War, in which I'm one of their writers, one of their script writers. And my favorite script that I wrote for the Cold War was the one about the ideological differences between the US and USSR. And that was, my favorite line I wrote was about, like, the difference between, like, how the Soviets saw freedom and how the Americans saw freedom. And it's like, Americans see, like, freedom of expression and freedom of opportunity and, like, freedom of, like all these things where it's, like, more about the government getting out of your way so that you can do things. While the Soviets' idea of freedom was, like, you know, your freedom to not starve and your freedom to have shelter and your freedom to have work and those kinds of things. Hope that would make sense. Anyways, probably have some questions to answer. Half an hour into the stream, I can finally go and look at some of these questions that have been submitted. I heard good things about the anarchist movement in Greece. Could you talk about it or how the lessons from it could be applied in North America? Sadly, Mr. Wednesday, I cannot. I actually don't know anything about it. Can you do a video on the Wilmington, North Carolina massacre? Basically, a KKK faction called the Red Shirts took a thriving Reconstruction, 90% black town, deposed the mayor, chief of police, ran them out of town, killed 60 black people and white Republicans with a machine gun. The mob voted the leader in the insurrection, the mayor. Well, okay, I could take a look at it, but also I don't want to set the precedent of, like... See, the thing is, like, when you're a YouTuber, people keep demanding that you make videos, and I don't like to encourage that behavior. Do I think the U.S. will end up collapsing? I mean, the thing is that the U.S. is like a 200-plus-year-old country. It's almost like a quarter of a millennium old at this point. So it is, compared to a lot of countries in this world, very old. If you think about it. If you think about states that have been in continuous existence without like a single coup or like, dissolution and resolution of the country and that kind of thing, except for like the Civil War. So the U.S. has been because of the constant expansion room and the relative peace that comes with being on the other side of the world from the rest of Europe, led to the United States being an extraordinarily stable country. But I will say that there is a lot of issues with America, which is that it has growing inequality and very, like, ever since neoliberalism became the dominant ideology of the country, has been, it's not only, like, putting more and more of its people in economically precarious positions, but it's been sort of ignoring a lot of its infrastructure investment. Like, a lot of what makes America a modern country was built in the 1960s and really hasn't been maintained or updated since. Because now they try to privatize, they try to not invest in things. And so the United States is like, a lot of the things that makes the United States function are crumbling and old and, like, you know, in dire need of maintenance. And the United States doesn't seem that able, because really votes don't really matter all that much in America anymore. They don't, like, the voters don't seem to really be able to, invest in that kind of an kind of a thing. They're ideologically opposed to the idea of helping people, which makes me think that the United States is in some trouble. Technically, it did when the Articles of Confederation Perpetual Union broke down. Yeah, although usually when people count the United States, they're counting it from they count it from the implementation of the Constitution. But I do think that if the U.S. is going to collapse, it's going to be because not only their political, but like their social and physical infrastructure is going to start breaking. America has privatized so much of its industry. It has divested so much from its infrastructure for everything except for the military and the police, and has overextended itself as an empire to such a huge degree that I do think that the big challenge of the United States is going to be having, like, it's the third largest country by landmass. It's the third largest country by population on Earth. This is a massive country with a very, very vulnerable infrastructure and a politics that is increasingly becoming unstable. And I do think that, given that the next few years, the next few decades are going to be marked by extreme weather events like what we just saw in Texas, by more and more tests on our infrastructure, by more extreme weather and a harder supply chain of of daily consumption stuff to maintain, that the United States is going to start having problems holding itself together under the weight of such a large and overarching country that has such an ideological opposition to the idea of the common good that on a long enough time scale, I think enough disasters, like the fact, like, here's a good example. There's a story that came out about Texas, about what happened in Texas, and that if it wasn't for there was basically a miracle that happened that prevented a huge infrastructure downfall that would have left Texas in blackout, like without electricity for months. And this is because of decades of lack of maintenance. Like, I think the electricity grid of a lot of the United States was built to last about 30 years and has since gone like 50 years without being replaced. So it's like very old, very outdated. Their states don't have money to maintain these things. And the kinds of things that destroy infrastructure are just going to start getting worse. And can you imagine? I imagine that Texas, imagine what it would be like if that had gone through. And we came very close to this happening, where a state, one of the states, the third most populous state, like I think Texas has a population of like 29 million people. Like, can you imagine a state of 29 million people being without electricity for months? Like, fucking what? And at this point, the lack of investment in their infrastructure is so dire that it would be extremely expensive, almost prohibitively expensive, to fix it, unless you did something like a Green New Deal. But people aren't going to do it. They're not pushing for it. We're just going to keep riding on this. And so they're going to get their whole, like, the thing is, like, people always think about like political instability and all these things like tied to, ideas and all these, like, like a lot of like stuff that are like human based, but like the physical things just keeping America together. It's roads, it's electricity, it's sewers, it's water pipes. It's like all of those things are starting to collapse. And as far as we can tell, the future is just going to be filled with more and more incidents like what happened in Texas, but like even worse. And what happens when that what happens? When do we get to the when we get to the breaking point of these things? When a state goes without electricity for months, when millions of people are under boil water advisories for a good chunk of the year, when things like what you see in countries like Pakistan, I say Pakistan because I have a friend from Pakistan who told me about this, where in order to stabilize their electricity grid, they basically just have a few hours every day where you don't have electricity. Do you think Americans will adjust to that very well? And while Pakistan can do it, because Pakistan, while being a very populous country, is not a humongous country, the United States is one of the largest countries on Earth and has one of the highest populations on Earth. As I said, it's the third most populous country on the planet Earth. I don't know if a country that big can hold itself together. Yeah, Puerto Rico, for example, already had blackout conditions for a month when they had that hurricane. Now, Puerto Rico is a bit more of an American colony than it is a part of the United States, but still, it is an example, and things are just going to keep getting worse from there. And not to mention there's other really big existential threats to America. The thing is, America, if you know anything about the United States' economy, while people, rightfully talk about it in terms of GDP, that the United States makes most of its money as basically the world's finance. All the big banks are located in America. But when it comes to things that are, not part of the service economy, the United States' biggest exports are raw resources. And one of the things that I think we don't talk about very much, although it's kind of important for understanding the United States, is that the United States is still one of the largest exporters of food on Earth. The United States supports, the U.S. exports a whole lot of the world's food. And the thing is, a lot of that food is grown in the American prairies in this huge flat part of the United States, right? Everybody knows the part of the United States I'm talking about, right? Your Nebraskas, your Idahos, your Iowas, your, that whole, area where all the states are squares. And the thing is that agriculture is all being fueled by a huge underground lake, a massive underground lake. And for many, many, many years now, the farms, these states have been drawing a lot more water from this underground lake than it can replenish. And if we start getting to an issue where the United States doesn't have access to cheap water, the U.S. is, a lot of the U.S. is, the U.S. is very dependent on a lot of cheap natural resources. The United States functions on cheap gas, cheap electricity, cheap oil, cheap water, and abundance of land. And if the United States gets to a point where it can't function, where it doesn't have enough water, where it has to start rationing its water, when it doesn't have, they'll just come north the border for it. Yeah, for real. Canada is sitting on the largest freshwater reserve on Earth. And yeah, the United States would definitely find some way to come after it. I was saying that a lot of the United States' economy that makes it so strong is based on the fact that it's abundant in natural resources, just because it's a huge fucking country with a lot of cheap and easily accessible natural wealth. And a lot of it is not sustainable and is disappearing. And if you have this mix of the infrastructure falling apart, the natural resources drying up, the natural the the sort of like natural challenges, i.e. like disasters and natural disasters and stuff like that, start increasing. And on top of that, you have an ideology that is increasingly leaving people out to dry and doesn't have a value in the common good or in maintaining a stable society. That is a recipe for breakdown. Now, is that, tomorrow? No. Is it in 10 years? Probably not. Is it in my lifetime? Possibly. The thing is, I see the United States as disintegration coming more from the idea of the country going through multiple crises at the same time and not being able to address them. Like if Texas had gone worse and lasted longer, and then you got into like tornado season, and then you got into hurricane season, and you had massive blackouts, you had huge infrastructure damage, and on top of that, like you got to a situation where food starts getting too expensive to afford because there's like a food crisis brought about by like waters, aquifers starting to dry out. Like, I always think about when you think about the collapse of countries and the end of civilizations, it's always when multiple crises sort of pile on top of each other at a certain time. And, America has a lot of things that can cause crises because they don't want to invest the money to do so. And so, you just need to stack a few things on top of each other and get unlucky, and you could see a big breakdown. I mean, look at what like having a incompetent president mixed with a global pandemic, mixed with rising tensions over the fact that America has a problem with their police just murdering people of color, led to like probably the closest America came to collapse in my lifetime last summer, where you had Donald Trump as president, you had huge Black Lives Matter protests, and at the same time you had the big wildfires in California and stuff. We'll see. Who's closer to collapse, the U.S. or U.K.? I think the United States is in a more vulnerable position, while the UK has also done a lot of this neoliberal divesting from their needed infrastructure. The thing is, the UK is a fairly small country in comparison physically, and that it has countries as big as the United States kind of can't exist without things like roads and infrastructure and things like that. But, as we know, England, for example, has existed long before there was electricity. Well, the UK, I think that the UK will probably lose some of its countries for sure. There's going to be there's a election in Scotland this May, where if the SNP wins, they've essentially said that they're going to push for a referendum. Although a lot of Scottish people that I've talked to are kind of like, okay, that's nice and all, but we more want to talk about how the SNP is really fucking over the COVID response, or really fucking up the COVID response. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in May. If the SNP manage to hang on to power, and if they manage to I think they're predicted to basically to win the election, as far as I can tell. And since the 2014 Scottish referendum, the position in Scotland has changed quite a bit. The 2014 referendum in Scotland resulted in Scotland voting to stay in the UK by a small margin. But now public opinion polls show that more Scottish people are more Scottish people are on the side of leaving the UK, but there's also a pretty wide margin of undecided people. And if, and especially after Brexit. And so we'll see what happens if Scotland goes through with it. There's a lot of things that need to happen between now and Scottish independence, but they are, things are looking more likely that Scotland will get independence, especially now that the UK is out of the European Union, and I don't know what the long-term effects of that are going to be. I haven't really looked into the deal that the UK has with the European Union. But I could see, like, the entity that is known as England, that has London in it, is probably, it probably has long-term potential. I don't really see, like, even utter collapse. You don't need a huge amount of infrastructure to manage a country the size of, like, England. But the UK is definitely in a vulnerable position for its sort of like non-England parts of its territory, that's for sure. And of course, there's going to be a lot of tension because the thing about Scotland is that there's going to be a fight over if Scotland gets independence. There's going to be a fight over who has the right to the North Atlantic or the North Sea oil platforms, because most definitely Boris Johnson's going to try and claim that those belong to the UK, while oh god, what the hell's her name? I don't even know if she would be like the president of Scotland or whatnot, but Nicola Sturgeon. Yeah, like if Nicola Sturgeon becomes president of Scotland, for example, she'll probably make a claim for the North Sea oil platforms too, and that'll cause a bit of an international tension moment. Do I recognize Palestine? Yeah, I actually have a Palestinian flag somewhere here too. I haven't hung it up yet because I haven't hung up my flags, except for that one. But yeah. But I do have a Palestine flag on here. I have a Soviet flag, but I don't know if I feel like hanging that one up. Is there a risk of the SNP turning into a right-wing party once they're independent? That I don't know. That's where things get complicated, because I don't really know the minutia of Scottish politics, so I don't exactly know how it's like political, like if Scotland gets independence, what its like political party breakdown will look like. That very much is that's a level of detail of knowledge about what's going on in Scotland than I know. So do you see any places unifying or forming federations anytime soon? That's a good question. I actually don't know. There's the, there was the hell was that thing called? The pact that was like Russia and China and a bunch of Central Asian countries. If that tightens up a bit, but I don't think I think China and Russia are currently on the outs right now over something that I can't remember. But at the moment, countries seem to be more drifting towards getting smaller rather than bigger. Wouldn't Scotland try to get back into the EU if it gains independence? Probably. I imagine that a lot of the people who have switched from being anti-Scottish independence to pro-Scottish independence since 2014 did so because of Brexit, which, because a lot of Scotland voted Remain. So my guess is that Scotland would probably try to get back into the European Union, yeah. Could Can's UK happen if your government goes conservative? That's a good question. It's an ambitious project. I feel like that's not the... I don't think Canada... Like, I think that Canada would probably... Whew. I guess, like, Aaron O'Toole might try something like that. Maybe. So it makes me think that, like, if we have a liberal government, which, like, most of the time Canada is a liberal country, the Liberal Party has run Canada, like, 70% of its existence. That Canada, like, there was this call for Canada to think about joining the European Union, and I feel like they're more on that. They're more in that maybe more interested in doing that than making Can's UK happen. But I think the country that will not be on board more likely is New Zealand. I don't know if New Zealand is going to be super interested in such a project, or Australia. Honestly, I don't know if Australia and New Zealand, being so far away, would benefit all that greatly from having a common currency with two countries literally on the opposite side of the planet. How did the Civil Rights Act of 1964 affect immigration from Mexico and Latin America? It increased it. The 1964 Immigration Act basically was the thing that was keeping, like, non-white people from immigrating to America, and it opened it up greatly. So there's that. Australia has a shitty wing government. Yeah, but, like, I think it's just more the geopolitics. Like, Can's UK always sounds like a thing that basically just benefits the UK, and no other country would really get a lot out of it. Like, I don't know what Canada would stand to benefit from having a common currency with the UK and Australia and New Zealand. Like, Australia and New Zealand are on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. And the UK is a, like, failing European democracy that has, like, what does the UK have to offer Canada, really, by being in the same market or whatever? Like, it's an appeal to... A lot of the times, Can's UK thing is, like, an appeal to our culture, our shared cultural identity, which, like, I don't think Canada really has much of anymore. That was maybe more of a thing when I was a kid, or when my dad was a kid, but Canada's identity is much more closely entwined with the United States than it is with the UK now. And so I don't really see us, like, seeing much benefit in such a tight binding agreement. We have Tim Hortons, but that's yours. Tim Hortons is actually a Brazilian company now. Like, I just be more like, what does what's my opinion on Transnistria? I don't know. I have a friend who's been there, and he had some interesting things to say about his experience going there. I don't know if I have a strong opinion of them, though. I don't really feel like I'd need to know more stuff about local conditions and the history and stuff like that to really be able to say anything intelligent about what's going on in Transnistria. So you said there's, like, a reason for you'd make a financial superpower. Maybe. The thing is, though, as I said, the idea of Canada joining the European Union would probably be more popular than the idea of Canada joining some weird Can's UK thing. Like, I think if Canada's ever going to join some sort of, like, supranational organization, it'll either be some sort of economic union with the United States, like the what's it called? Like all the conspiracy theorists are concerned about with the North American Union or whatever, Or it would be something akin to trying to join the European Union, to try and solidify a strong economic relationship with someone who's not the United States. Because right now, like, the UK is not a safe bet because we don't know how the UK is going to handle leaving the European Union. But there's been a lot of like Canadian foreign policy writers in the last like few years, basically since Trump's been elected, have been having a lot of conversations about like, okay, like we can't really rely on the United States as a long-term solid ally to bet all of our to bet everything on, and so that Canada should consider making stronger alliances with other countries that are not the United States. And I think the most common thing that people go to is like, what's like a economic union that we could become closer to that would be beneficial to Canadians. And the two that come to mind is having a stronger relationship with China, which, like, given how things have been in the last few years, maybe not the smartest thing, since China and Canada are kind of not on great terms right now. So the next one would be the European Union. We have the European Union's our second largest trade partner. We have a free trade agreement with the European Union, I believe. I think we signed it about 6-7 years ago. And so that's a thing. When was the last time I accidentally dead named somebody? I can't remember. I don't know if I have. Yeah, I don't know. That's what it is right now. The UK economy is based on financial services, the housing market, and low-paid labor. Okay, yeah, I guess. I don't know how Canada would benefit from, like, having access to British banks or having another runaway real estate market, because Canada's real estate market is even worse than America's. Our real estate market is, like, notoriously bad. And can we join the United Federation of Planets? I'd be down. And as far as like unskilled labor or whatever, which is what the UK is really going to be hurting for now that it doesn't have a European Union anymore. Like Canada and New Zealand and Australia all have fairly highly educated populations. There's not a whole lot of people who are like going to be moving to the UK for work. Not really. Like, we have... Yeah. The European Union, we have much more to gain because the European Union is a massive consumer base. And the thing about Canada is that our economy is based off of primary resource extraction. And so if we have the European Union, we have the common market, that is a massive domestic market for buying things like lumber and oil and nickel and all of the minerals that we dig up. Like, Canada is a very resource-rich country. And Europe is a huge industrial and consumer market that would buy up our shit like crazy. So that would be a much better deal for us. Sort of like it's sort of why our relationship with the United States is so good. It's because they buy our cheap primary resources and turn it into all their goodies. And then we buy that from them. So probably have a relationship with like European Union after that. Would countries outside Europe even be able to join the European Union? I mean, it's called the EU, but like, there's nothing. I don't know if there's any rule saying like, because there's not even a rule. There's not even a strong definition of what the fuck Europe is really. And so like, there's like the fact that if Turkey can join the European Union, or even think about joining the European Union, then I think that Canada has a shot. I don't see any reason why Canada couldn't think about joining the European Union. You could always rename it, yeah. I'd love to have the kids stand up every morning before morning announcements and play the Drink Milk Love Life song, or Ode to Joy, or whatever, instead of Oh Canada. I don't imagine that's what happens, but... Canada borders France, yeah. Canada's territorial waters also border Denmark. We have territorial waters that border with Greenland, which is a colony of Denmark. Yeah. Did you slip up once and dead name Abs after she came out publicly? May have been a past reference to creator philosophy too, where I could be misremembering. That was a big day. I don't think so. If I have, I don't remember. How is Turkey not in Europe? Oh, I mean, like, this is the whole thing. Like, what is Europe? Like, where do you draw the borders of Europe? Does Canada have a maritime border with Russia? Yes, we do. The Arctic is an interesting place. There's a lot of weird maritime borders up there. In fact, this is a bit disputed because there's a lot of places in the upper Arctic where we would have a maritime border with Russia, but really the thing is, it's all frozen, so nobody's really worked out where the borders are, and so everyone's got a lot of like overlapping, competing claims, but no one cares because it's the Arctic. But now the Arctic's melting because of climate change. And so now we actually have to figure out the territorial waters up there. And so there's been like several attempts to make like Arctic treaties to try and find out who owns what in the Arctic. Because not only is the ice melting, which is opening up new maritime trade routes, but at the same time, it also may have offshore oil assets to extract. And if you get into precious resources like that, then all of a sudden people are going to start making different territorial claims. Yeah. Speaking of big days, did you want to talk about Daft Punk ending yesterday? Yeah, it's sad. I'm hoping that Daft Punk, like, I'm not, like, it's sad because, you know, Daft Punk's a great group. Their music was fun. So it's a little sad that they're, like, you know, calling it quits. I just hope that it's, like, because they want to go off and do other creative projects. You know, because they want to, like, grow as artists and stuff like that. But, like, I hope it's because they haven't really said why they're, like, stopping Daft Punk. But I hope it's because they want to go do other things and not because, like, something bad happened. That's my hope. But I'm also, like, I'm also a person who believes that, you know, I don't think bands need to last forever, you know? If the people who made the music, that if the members of Daft Punk are still around, they still have creative energy. They're still musicians. They're going to go off and make some new stuff, and maybe that'll be really good, you know? And so, oftentimes when I find a band broke up, I'll be like, all right, I look forward to what interesting new projects they get into. And I'll always remember that Daft Punk was a really fun band that lasted for like 28 years. I just hope that, like, they're not ending things because, like, one of them is dying or, like, that they got in a big fight or something like that. Like that would bum me out more, because it's like, oh man, there could have been so much more Daft Punk that happened if not for something. But if it's just like, yeah, we've been making this for 28 years, let's go do something new, then I'd be like, all right, congratulations. As a creative person, I know that kind of urge to just be like, let's just do this one thing that we do forever, can be very draining on creative people. And if they want to do something new, you're often discouraged from doing so. And so if that is the case, then, like, you know, go. Have you seen the video? Yeah, the one where the robot explodes. It's great. It's a cute way to say goodbye. But, you know, if this is all we get of Daft Punk, then I feel like they gave us a lot of music. They gave us 28 years of, like, tons of hits and great songs. And I'm grateful for that. I don't know. I feel less sad when, like, a band breaks up compared to, like, when a TV show gets canceled or something like that. Just because, like, a lot of other media, you don't consume things over and over again, while, like, Daft Punk's not going anywhere, and their songs will be around forever and they'll always be enjoyable. You can listen to them 1,000 times and still be all right. Yeah. How old are they when they started? I actually don't know. It also could be that they're retiring. Because, you know, 28 years is a long time for any job, if you think about it. What do you think about Facebook banning news in Australia? I'll be honest, this is the first I've heard about it. I don't know what the deal is with that. Sorry. What do you think of Ted Cruz doing a Scott Morrison by fucking off to another country while his country freezes? Australia was burning. Oh, damn. While, you know, it shows the despicable depths that Ted Cruz goes to, man, having him get owned so hard was pretty funny. What do you think of? Hey, thank you for the British pound, Faster Tortoise. Much appreciated. I don't know if I have an answer to this thing about Deleuze, Guattari, Foucault, and criticisms of capitalist psychiatry. Like, I don't think I've read quite enough books to be able to have a smart answer to that question. Why do you think orgs like the DSA and IWW are seeing growth in popularity in this specific era, especially? Why not 10 years ago or 20 years ago? I think there's a couple things. I think that the Overton window has been really blown open by the 2016 election, and more people are interested in, thinking about different types of politics more. And also, I would say that to millennials and Zoomers, who are kind of coming of age in a time where it's obvious that the political hegemony that we live in is falling apart and not working for us, that we're more interested in other things. Socialism used to be like, I'm an old fuck, right? So as an old fuck, I can say to you kids that like 20 years ago, 2001, or I guess I became a leftist in like 2002, 2003. And I gotta say, being a leftist in 2002, 2003 was a lot harder than being one today. And the amount that we have moved the amount that like left-wing ideas are like not being mocked and not like completely disregarded has moved a lot since like, the early 2000s. And so there is quite a McDonald's. Why did I say McDonald's? That's quite a move. Have you heard the rumor that Scott Morrison pooped his pants at McDonald's? No. That's new. I became an anarchist in 2009, and back then anarchists were so rare that I actually thought, or anarchists who are not ANCAPs, I guess I should say, were so rare that when I became an anarchist, I did so not even realizing that there were left-wing anarchists. And I was like, literally like, well, what if anarchism and communism at the same time? And then, I Googled around and found like books and stuff like that, but there were so few on the internet and social media hadn't really caught on, or social media was still in its infancy that like, I didn't even know. And now anarchists are real and talked about regularly. Yeah, there's Cash Flush also said, this is true, that there are people now who are growing up in the West who didn't grow up with Soviet propaganda, Soviet propaganda has soured so many people to socialist ideas that we don't have to deal with anymore. Like, the Soviet Union collapsed when I was 3, I want to say. 2? No, it was Christmas. It was like Christmas Day or Boxing Day that the Soviet Union collapsed. So, and it was 1991. So I would have been 3. I had turned 3 like a month ago. So, yeah. So I grew up functionally without a Soviet Union. I mean, shit, now, the adult generation that's coming out of university right now were born after 9/11. So they're increasingly not even remembering, like, the worst years of the war on terror anymore. Have I read Enchantments of Mammon by Eugene McCarrer? No. Sorry, Barklord. Why doesn't Bernie join the Green Party? Is the Green Party socialist? Bernie isn't going to join the Green Party because the Green Party essentially runs opposition for the Republican Party. The Green Party only effectively, like, the only thing that the Green Party effectively does is get Republicans elected, because they spoil presidential luckily, they also get, like, they get no votes. Like, I think in 2020 they got, like, no, it was 2016 or 2020, they got 0.3% of the vote. Like, they're a non-entity in electoral politics. And the way that, and the thing is, the Green Party insists on running presidential candidates instead of, like, trying to do a local election, or trying to, like, get into Congress or state Congress or anything like that. They just want to go right for the White House, for the Electoral College, the most broken system of the entirety of the very broken American political system, and really makes it like electoral politics, like the presidential election, the way that the Electoral College works, so heavily favors the two-party system that it essentially, ever since there have been political parties in American history, it hasn't really ever diverged from it that much, except for, like, when there have been notable breakoffs of constituents from one party to another, like the George Wallace campaign, for example. And so the Green Party, by focusing so much on the presidential race and not focusing on like lower governments or whatever, that has done very little to has done very little to make the Green Party more relevant. If the Green Party cared about actually making change in the country, they would be working at a much... They'd be trying to get into local offices and stuff like that and building a base of support. But instead, they just want to keep running in these presidential elections that they have no chance of winning. Should socialist parties be running spoiler right-wing candidates? I think they're getting onto that themselves. They're getting into a situation where, I don't know, that whole thing about Donald Trump trying to start his own political party. Probably one of the reasons why the Republicans voted to acquit Trump in the what's it called, the impeachment election, or the impeachment vote a couple weeks back. Like, I don't know. The Green Party does run local people in your state. Well, good. If they just stopped running for president for a while and focused on these like local races, I have a feeling that would be a much more successful option for them. But honestly, like, political projects like civil rights projects or like, you know, major economic reform projects have gotten way more mileage in American history by latching on to one of the two political parties and essentially growing into a constituency that those parties have to listen to rather than starting your own thing from scratch. Command doesn't work anymore. I am confused. Did you try to trick me into saying you donated $100? Nice try. All right. Your story idea about healing mental illness is very interesting because I think that would be close to eugenics. My mental illness is probably my most difficult, quote, problem in life, but it's also who I am. Shouldn't we rather build societies where different people are supposed to be valued and can draw through strength from their issues rather than changing everyone to be standard? And where is the difference to disabled people and how we would treat them? Yeah, that you are raising good questions. That exactly the kind of thing that that the story I wanted to write would explore. What are my thoughts on the EU? Do you think the EU is viable in its current form and direction? I mean, it's got a lot of problems. It's like one of the less objectionable political projects going on right now. It's neoliberal technocratic bullshit. But it's neoliberal technocratic bullshit in a place where a lot of people don't pay to go to university and they have free healthcare and that kind of stuff. And like, given the choices we have in our day and age about what kinds of worlds you want to live in, the EU is one of the less terrible places to be. So, hello from France. Salut! Bonsoir! Dommage yourself to Daft Punk. Alrighty, what do we got next? With Russia having these protests, how long do you think until Russia has some form of revolution? And could it lead to the Russian Civil War? I don't know. I don't know the state Russia's in right now, but I have a feeling that these protests are not nearly like challenge to the existence of the state level of big. But I feel like that would have been a bigger story on the news. Seems like I feel like Russia's is holding itself together, and I say that and like guaranteed that means that like, you know, Russia's gonna fall apart tomorrow, right? But yeah, I think that I don't know if the protests are big enough. I don't know if there's a strong enough opposition. Like, I mean, people want what the fuck's his name? The like Nazi who everybody keeps trying to, who's like the Juan Guaido of Russia, Navalny. People keep trying to prop him up, but yeah, I don't know if that's gonna like fly. Putin seems to have a pretty strong grasp of the country. I live in Michigan. I hear Republicans saying that Detroit collapsed because of liberals governing it. I believe it's because of big corporations leaving the area. What really caused it? Oh yeah, Detroit fell. A lot of like Michigan fell apart because of deindustrialization. So you're not wrong. Anyone who tries to tell you that anything but like deindustrialization is the cause of is telling you a line, you know. Okay. So a while back, I asked you if you'd rather live in Rome in 298 or London in 1898. You said that you thought the food would be better in ancient Rome. If you wanted decent food in Victorian London, couldn't you go to one of the ethnic enclaves? Maybe. I guess so. That's true. Or you could go to the country. But I guess, like... Yeah, I don't know. I guess 1898, you're close enough to having, like, penicillin and shit that it might actually be a better choice. So, I guess I can go with Victorian London. But the first thing I would do is get out of London. I don't want to be breathing in coal dust for the rest of my life. Okay. That's the... Why would the food be better there? Because, like, there was no regulations in Victorian London, and so, like, yeah, you could, if you like, ate bread that wasn't bread you made yourself, there's, like, a non-zero chance it would be, like, half sawdust and would have, like, arsenic in it or something. I have a feeling that, like, if I lived in Victorian times, I'd want to live far enough out that I would more or less be making my own food. Making my own bread, you know, growing my own vegetables, that kind of thing. Because I feel like if you had to live off of, like, food bought from the grocery stores back in like the Victorian times, you would be buying a lot of really shitty food. Can you dead name someone if the person doesn't care? So on the Discord the other day, I used PhilosophyTube's dead name, and people got annoyed with me. And I was like, but that was only ever a stage name. And someone told me even if Abigail doesn't care, which may not be the case, I still shouldn't use the name because it'd be upsetting to other trans people in the Discord. Yeah, the people in the Discord are right. You shouldn't dead name people. It's a real bad form. It's not a thing you should do. Even if they don't care, if that's the case, if that is the case, I would say it would still be rude to do. But if you must, only do it with that person and don't do it in public. That should be for Mia. Well, okay. You either checked neither or you checked both, so I don't know what to tell you. Hey, Foobs. Could you remember to ask it again if she's on? No promises on that one. I have a very bad memory. Phoebe's being very cute right now. She's got a tooth sticking out, and she's like upside down. Let's see. Typically when the Germans took over countries, they get native fascists to be puppet heads of government. I know they couldn't have, but if the Nazis really had taken over the U.S., like in The Man in the High Castle, who do you think they would have picked as their American puppets? Wasn't Charles Lindbergh like a big person that they would have tapped? Like there was people who were thinking that he actually would be running as a fascist president of the United States. Other people come to mind are like Henry Ford. Those are the people that stick out, but Charles Lindbergh would probably be a good option. I think a lot of alternate history people usually tap Charles Lindbergh. But like people who supported segregation, the Ku Klux Klan, George Lincoln Rockwell. Yeah, although I don't know what George Lincoln Rockwell was doing in the 1930s and 40s. I don't know if he was old enough for that kind of stuff. Or whoever the head of the Bund was. Who was the head of the Bund? Heinz Spunknobel. Or Fritz Kuhn. Yeah, Fritz Kuhn, that could be a good one. So those are probably good options. But those are kind of stale options. Just like how, what's it called? The idea of what would happen in the UK is they would bring back the Nazi king who left because he got divorced. Edward VII, I think was the name, right? I mean, he's Edward VIII. So yeah, Rockwell wasn't really in a prominent position in World War II times. Huey Long for an American fascist? I mean... Huey Long, really? I mean, he was definitely had the ambitiousness of it. But yeah, he was he's a complicated political figure. I don't know if he would be the kind of person that the Nazis would be willing to tap. I don't feel like he would be enough of a patsy, you know? How do modern Marxists deal with the fact that we know most ancient economies weren't in fact reliant on slavery? Um, I mean, that's... I don't know how Marxists deal with that. I'm not a classical Marxist. So... But my guess is that they would talk about how the idea that every society had a class of workers and people who benefited off of the work of those workers still would stay true. Just I don't know if it would have the name of like slave. Okay, do you think it would be possible for a civilization to have an industrial revolution where the means of production from the start are owned by the government? Like in the 290s, the Emperor of Rome started building these big centralized workshops that would produce all the goods that Roman army needed. If Rome had been a bit more technologically advanced, could that have led to an industrial evolution with the factories owned by the state? Yeah. I don't see why not. Capitalism and stuff like that only really what's it called? Only really evolved because of the institutions set up by the mercantilist age and the colonization. So yeah, I could see industrialization happening through other means. You know how Biden won? Do you think Starmer would have become PM if we had an election during the pandemic? Maybe. I don't know what's going on in the UK right now. But like, I know Boris Johnson's kind of unpopular, but I also think Keir Starmer is not very popular either. So I don't know. I have a feeling that what's it called? During a pandemic, an election between Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson would be a very low turnout election. I don't imagine anybody would be super pumped about either of them. Like, is there anybody who actually likes Keir Starmer? Like, I don't know. I feel like I think there's people who are mad. Maybe it's just because I'm on Twitter with all the British people who I know on Twitter are all like super leftists, but I don't imagine that there are that many people who like Keir Starmer. If anything, I think an election happening soon might actually be a shot in the arm for the fucking like Lib Dems or something. So it makes me think that the Lib Dems could actually like if the Labour Party goes so far to the right, the Lib Dems will try to like flank them or something, which would be weird. Having absolutely no clue who Starmer is that like the UK version of Harris? As far as I know, he's the leader of the Labour Party, and he represents the what's it called? Represents the Labour Party correcting way more to the right than what's it called? Than under Jeremy Corbyn. Lib Dems, is this satire or politics? I don't know. It shows that I don't know too much about what's going on the ground. I just had the sense that like if there are like Lib Dem Labor marginals, that given how much people hate Keir Starmer, and people are kind of whatever about the Lib Dems right now, that they might have a chance to pick up a seat or two. I'm not saying they'd win. I'm saying that they could make gains. I don't even know. I don't know anything about the Lib Dems today, so. It's just actual leftists who hate Starmer. Well, I have a feeling that the 2019 election in the UK was hurt a lot more by Jeremy Corbyn going kind of like wishy-washy on Brexit. And so my guess is that Labour would probably make gains if there was like an election today. Just because Brexit's no longer like the thing people are fighting about. That's already happened. Because it seems like the Labour Party in the UK was pretty divided on what to do about Brexit. And Labour tried to basically avoid the issue despite the election. But I felt like that was kind of out of touch because it looked like Brexit was what the election was going to be about. And yeah, I don't know if that's like the right way forward, you know. And so I think a lot of people voted who the kind of like Labour conservative voter probably voted a conservative this time because they were, you know, they were more interested in getting Brexit done than like, you know, the kitchen table issues that Corbyn was trying to bring front and center. Yeah. Did you hear that ICE is just ignoring Biden's order to stop all deportations for... I already answered this question. They're ignoring him, although he doesn't particularly care, and they just opened their new child concentration camps, so... You know what's another thing that Ken's UK would make awful is that probably Marmite would be more common in Canada, and I don't want Marmite to come to this country. Marmite is terrible. Alright. Does making all higher education just technical training make it easier to recruit people into the far right? Like, is there truth to the idea that going to university and studying the humanities makes it harder for the right to recruit you? I'd say so. But that's just me. Like, I do think that these sort of like operationalization of education, where we only see education through the lens of like things you need to become productive workers and to do jobs, and focused heavily on STEM, is a thing that that makes you less of a critical thinker and more of and less thinking about the nature of humanity and more focused on gizmos and gadgets and not critiquing systems and blah blah blah. So then don't eat Marmite. No, Marmite is a war crime. Marmite is a crime against food. Ben Burgess's theory is that no one believed all of Labour Party's promises. That also could be the case. By the way, I know it seems like there's a bunch of British people in the chat tonight. You guys are going to fucking hate the next Step Back video. Specifically the ad break. I have my ad break is designed to specifically drive British people insane. So have fun with that. All right. Does making... Oh, yeah, I already answered that. Okay. What is it I must know? You'll find out. All I can tell you is that Bernard Cronshaw is making a return to the stage. So... Bernard Cronshaw, the actor who plays Tristan on the hit show Step Back History, is making a return. 6-time BAFTA winner. Suppose Britain went fascism in the 30s. What would that mean for India? Normally, I already answered that one a long time ago. Suppose Can's UK thing really happened, which I find unlikely, but hypothetical. Would it actually make up for how badly we fucked the UK economy by leaving the EU? I don't know. I don't know how the UK economy really works. It's also a finance-heavy economy. Like, the UK has got all the banks. All of its other industries have sort of gone by the wayside. So, I don't know. Can's UK, like, yeah, it wouldn't be super beneficial for anybody but the UK. And even the UK wouldn't really get a lot out of it. I don't think they're going to make up for the fact that they don't get the freedom of movement from, like, the poorer countries in the European Union. Like, I think the UK was being kept alive by the cheap labor that came from places like Poland and Greece. And not so, and I don't think Can's UK would actually, like, change that. And yeah, on top of all the other things that the European Union and being in the common market and freedom of movement and stuff gave you. But, like, a service economy is usually dependent on a steady influx of low-skill workers so you can hyper-exploit and underpay them. And the UK having access to workers from Eastern Europe and stuff like that was very beneficial to their economy. Obviously, this is not, like, you know, not very humane, but the music industry. I don't know if you can hang an entire country's economy on the music industry, though. The UK is going to need to open up immigration a lot and bring in a lot of immigrants from other parts of the world if they're going to sort of, you know, handle the effects of Brexit on them. Apparently my country is sending a spider robot to the moon in a few months. Is it bad to spend money on that kind of shit when your economy is imploding? I mean, in some ways it's sort of like a make-work program. It's like a busy box, which, like, you know, gets people working, which gets people wages, which gets, like, I don't know. I mean, there are better ways to spend your money, obviously, but it is stimulus in some way. You made it to a live video. Hello, Shan. In one of the culture books, there's a character who spends his life as a bartender, even though he admits he's... I already answered this one a long time ago. So the atheist... Oh, I answered that one too. So some anti-Trump Republican people are talking about breaking away from the GOP and starting their own slightly less fascist open right-wing party. If that happens, which party will it hurt more? Oh, definitely the Republicans. Okay. So let's fix this up here. Okay. Well, let's see if we got any questions. That's all the ones I had in the bank for tonight. Let's see if we got any more on the form. You aware of the correspondence between Lincoln and Marx? I'm aware of it. I haven't read it, though. Would you be open to consulting on a leftist video game about building a civil rights movement? Is that an offer? I mean, I probably would. I don't know if that's a very specific type of request. I don't know if like a never Trump Republican Party would do very well. I have a feeling that they would have one election where they might carry a couple states, and then when they realize that Trump supporters are the Republican base, it would quickly fall apart. It would carry like Utah, and that's it. Last stream you talked about your story idea. I already answered that one. In For All Mankind, Nixon exposes Operation Paperclip so he can fire Werner von Braun. But wasn't it an open secret? Yeah, it kind of was. Although it didn't really become like public until like the 70s. So, like until the 70s when they really started like hunting down Nazis who had fled to America. We'll get there when I make the video. Hey, thank you for the bits. The thing is, like, Werner von Braun and those kinds of people, they would, like, say that they did work with the Third Reich, but then they would be like, but I didn't work with, like, but I didn't do anything with, like, the concentration camps. I wasn't involved with the war crimes and those kinds of things. But, like, for example, Werner von Braun's brother was an engineer in the V program as well and oversaw a lot of the slave labor they used to build those rockets. And it's pretty likely that Werner von Braun knew about these things and that he put a lot of work into trying to diminish what kind of like a knowledge he knew about the kind of dark shit that was happening in the Third Reich. So yeah, it's so if like, you know, exposure of like, oh, Werner von Braun knew way more than he thought he admitted, then that could have been a thing that could have turned public opinion for sure. He used slave labor in his factories, it's true, but von Braun always like claimed that he didn't see it. That it was all happening under his nose. And it's like the flimsiest fucking deniability. Unfortunately, not a lot of people are alive to disagree with him, and so it kind of just went under the radar. We'll get a lot more of it when I actually finish the Operation Paperclip video. Collaborating with 2 other YouTubers on it, so it's like it's gonna take a bit. Would you ever consider on the fantasy con? I used to have a Know Your Fantasy series. I stopped it because literally everybody hated it. Like my videos on my Know Your Fantasy videos are some of the worst received videos I made on Step Back. Like I think Badass Women of History is the only other series on Step Back that did worse than Know Your Fantasy, which sucks because I really liked Know Your Fantasy. It was a fun series. If you guys want, I'll tell you a little bit about the Operation Paperclip video. At the moment, it's going to feature content. It's going to feature collaborations with 3 Arrows and with Do Not Eat. That's currently where I'm standing. Is the Alagabalis video ever going to happen? It's on my list of Patreon stretch goal videos that I need to get to at some point. I'm just I'm working off a backlog here. We mostly ask politics and history questions. I think Tristan also has another form to fill out in advance, but he takes questions from the chat and other places. This is true. At the moment, I'm going through the form because I ran out of questions for Step Back Tonight on my spreadsheet. So I'm just like reading the forums as they come in. Badass Women in History. I like doing that series too. It's just that, again, they have to be accounted amongst my like indulgence videos and not with like my candy videos. It's a vegetable video, and my channel's not doing great because I'm not giving people enough candy. Hope that's vodka, not water. It is water. It's water with like some iced tea shit in it. I haven't made a Badass Women in History video in years. But, yeah. What we got next here? I know you dislike getting a lot of suggestions for videos, but your viewers think you should make, and that people continue to request topics anyway. So I'd like to ask, what are some topics / videos you have coming up in the near or distant future that you're most excited to explore? Ooh. Okay. Well, let me look up my thing. What's my political party? I don't really have a political party. I typically vote NDP because it's like the only left-wing political party we have, but I'm not like especially attached to them. All right. Let's see what I've got for Step Back. So I've got the White Power Movement series that I'm going to wrap up this year, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more episodes in it about arming the militia, race war and white women, Ruby Ridge, Waco, militarized police, Oklahoma City, and the militia after Oklahoma City. Got the COINTELPRO series that I'm excited about. Populism. I have this idea about making a video about populism and Dark America, where I have like, I really want to make my video on the John Birch Society. I feel like that one will do really well. It'll do really well, but I also think it'll be interesting to go into. The big one that I'm working on, or that I want to work on over this year, is that I'm making a big 9/11 video. I'm working on it very slowly, but I am working on a big 9/11 video because 9/11's 20th anniversary is this September. So I'm trying to make a nice big 9/11 video for that. This live is making me want to do a marathon of your videos. Whoa, have fun with that. John Birch Society would be a pretty fun one. So I've got the White Power series, and then I've got the COINTELPRO series. If my COINTELPRO video does well, I'll do the series. If not, I'll probably drop it. Once I get through those, then I have a series that I have called Dark America, which is sort of a series on like dark period, like really like dark parts of American history. So I've got here like a video on the Christian right, a video on the John Birch Society, a video on Birth of a Nation, Prohibition, lynching, the School of the Americas, the business plot, the Hawaiian tragedy, the Texas Rangers, the crime of Mount Rushmore, the Lost Cause myth, the Red Summer, California genocide, the slave breeding farms in America, and the KKK. We'll see where those go. And this year too, because of stuff, I have several like tentpole videos I want to make in 2021 as well. So I have a video I want to make on the Tulsa riots because the Tulsa riots turn 100 years old this year. So I want to make a video on the Tulsa riots on June 1st. I also am going to continue I had this idea of making a video on presidential assassinations, one per year. And so last year I did the McKinley assassination. This year I'm going to do the Garfield assassination. I don't know how well that one will do, but I'm kind of looking forward to making that. The big 9/11 video. I also want to start a thing. This is a thing I want to start this year. It'll be interesting. is I want to make a video. I want to have something called Step Back Day, which is the anniversary of the first Step Back video, which is September 17th. And so one of the videos I want to make is what I'm going to try and do, hopefully, is on Step Back Day every year, is I'm going to remake an old video in a better format. And I'm going to start with my first video. So hopefully this year I want to try doing on Step Back Day a video, a remake of Why Are Conspiracy Theories So American? Because I definitely have a lot more to add to that. And so I feel like remaking that would be pretty fun. And then, yeah, then I have like, that's everything I got for 2021. Should make a USSR video since the 30th anniversary of its collapse this year. That's true. I have a stretch goal to make a USSR dead countries video, so maybe that'd be a good time to do it. Anyways, it's 9 o'clock. We're kind of running on the end of the night, so I think we're going to call it an evening now. Let me find somebody to raid for you. Well, there's no shortage of good people to raid. Do you plan it? How often do I plan a video only to have Behind the Bastards cover it? I mean, there's no winning that, really. I just have to roll with it. That Behind the Bastards will always get to my video ideas at some point. Let's raid. It's like, do I want to raid Chelsea Manning? Because, like, she's the smallest concurrent viewers right now, but also, what's she doing? She's doing like science stuff. Oh, let's do it. Let's go raid Chelsea Manning. Everyone likes Chelsea Manning. We stan a queen. Anyways, take care of yourselves and each other. Be good. Be kind. And I'll be back on Friday for some shenanigans.